Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we continued with the Void Crusade, and I actually need to drop off stuff quick. I forgot to do this. Boy howdy, would I love to be able to use all these psalm codes. I got enough of them. I'm just collecting them. Looking real nice on my shelf here. But, as I was saying, we're doing this, and I've got to pull up my map. I'm the map. I'm the map. Oh, there. Yeah, not gonna modify a 200% damage suffered bonus. Forgot. Meme. There we go. So, more news came out regarding Kill the Justice League. It's currently the launch number of players are half of what the Avengers had. So, I want to ask you guys something. Do you think this has anything to do with this current trend of pre-ordering games and getting early access to them? Because here's my thought process. A lot of people like me, we thought the game was going to be bad, but we didn't know how bad. But you had these people who pay like $100 for 3 days early access, which, unless you're a streamer or YouTuber where you can use that as a tax write-off, if you're just some, Joe Blow from Kokomo, I'm sorry, dude, like, you probably shouldn't have tossed them 30 extra dollars for early access to that. That's rough. But my point here being, like, I always thought the 3-day early access thing was scummy. Because games used to come out, for some people who may not know this, games used to come out on Tuesdays. But then, games started coming out Friday, and then they started doing this whole, hey, if you give us extra money, you can play on a Tuesday. And so, this raises kind of the big question of, is this actually a detriment for bad games? Because you think about it, people got warned. If they weren't paranoid about spoilers, and even if they were paranoid about spoilers, it's the internet, you can't escape them. Everybody found out, hey, this game's got a lot of escort missions, it's got this flaw, that flaw. Hell, within like a couple hours of the game being available to play, even early access, people already had a bunch of the cutscenes already uploaded on Twitter and on YouTube and everything. But it's a good question. Is this actually a detriment? Because I think it is. Even though, yes, it's defending bad games, which no one should do, I also think it's a cheap way to try to get extra money out of people, to incentivize those pre-orders. Because when you think about it, you got people who, maybe they work a job that makes them work weekends, but they get like Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday off. So if they pre-order the game, cool, they can play it potentially the night of their last day until their weekend, or they play it for, the day they have off. Instead of having to sit down and take a day off, which usually if you work a job that makes you work the weekends, you don't get weekends off. There's a reason you're there, tragically. Love of god, can this guy just, like... I also wish I could actually aim. I love running backwards and continually just shooting everything but the target. But I think by and large it's just kind of a net negative for gaming to have this very flimsy incentive for players when it's not that worthwhile, and all it seems to do at this point is serve as a warning. Oh my god, yeah, I'm gonna die here. There's no two ways around it. It's the stupid champion who just eats shells and eats plasma like it's nothing. But it's something that kind of stands out, and it's such a big issue, and it sounds like I'm like, oh no, but it is genuinely unfortunate. Like, Suicide Squad has half the players that Avengers had, because people were ripping Avengers apart, but I think it might be that Avengers made people kind of wary of this, which I don't blame them for. People, you know, had a right to be cautious. Dear God, can I please just hit this guy? Nah, he's just gonna keep dropping turrets on me. I'm probably gonna die again, which is really annoying. Because, like, it doesn't help that he just continually misses. And then just turret drop, and it's like, oh cool, so I'm completely incapacitated. Yep, dead. Yeah, I'm just gonna run around that guy. I'm not gonna fight him again. I'm tired of it. I'll just circumnavigate the area and deal with all the other enemies. I'm probably gonna have to start using the damage ups at this point, because we're only at like a plus, I think, 5 or plus 8 difficulty, and we go up to plus 12. But yeah, I was thinking about that. I was just thinking about, like, a lot of games that over the years have had weird issues. I think of, like, what was it? Crossfire X. How they had a weird launch where it was supposed to be free for some people, but you could also buy the game, which broke things. And also, that game was just unfortunate. Like, they really could have done a better job with it. But just thinking about, like, this early access thing, it's been such a weird trend. And I'm not big on it. But I've also never been really big on pre-orders. Like, I pre-order games sometimes. Like, I pre-ordered Helldivers, because I knew it was going to be something I'd enjoy. But I wasn't sitting here... I don't pre-order a ton of games because I've been burned on so many, and so many games tend to be bad. There's a lot of really rough games out there where it's like, nah, we are better off not buying this, or not pre-ordering it, or buying some Turbo Deluxe Edition where they want, you know, $120, $200. It's really bad when the special editions and stuff, they end up being some stupid, like, oh, you get a skin. I don't care. What's sad too is sometimes, like, I know for Helldivers 2, Sony made them add, I can't remember what it was, but they had to add something for a pre-order. And I was just like, really? Maybe some games just don't need to involve pre-orders. Just my own thoughts here. I was about to say this plasma cannon's getting a bit weak, but it's just the difficulty. If I could get my hands on one with slots, I would put something into it. Because that's what it really needs at the moment, is just an extra bump of power. Probably put some XP into, or some levels into the dot tree. I drew a blank as I sat here. I think the dot tree will save me. Hopefully. Speaking of, like, Crossfire, I saw a thing. The president of Tencent said he felt their gaming division achieved nothing last year. I was like, yeah, I feel like a lot of studios and companies can say they really achieved nothing. It's just kind of how things are going. And it doesn't help with, like, Crossfire X. They just, for wanting to make a big Western release, deciding to make a game that's only on Xbox did not help them. I mean, it's, you would have had to have foresight for this one, considering release dates and everything. But during the Microsoft Activision acquisition, it came out that it was like PlayStation, the order of who, like, what was the most popular method of playing was like mobile, PlayStation, PC, and then Xbox. So setting yourself up on the smallest potential market and then going, gee, why didn't we pan out? That plus also no market research, so they made a game that just did not work well. Because it just utilized, like, weapon rentals and other Asian business practices that don't apply here. Man, where are my big judgment blasts? I need one of those right now. Oh, that's what it is. The really wimpy flame traps.
machine does. Defense mechanism activated.
Wow, one whole AdMech robot that took a bunch of hits and died super fast. I genuinely wonder how the designers intended for some of these rooms to go. Is it meant to be like, oh, you're supposed to clear it and then get these bots and have them with you to go clear the next room? Oh, kind of just looping back to the pre-order thing. I just remembered, maybe you remember this too, the absolutely stupid idea EA had to crack down on the secondhand game market when they made people have to enter a code for like a online license for a game. If you wanted to play multiplayer, you had to input a code or you'd have to buy a license for like $10-15. God, that was the dumbest thing ever. I remember that. Because that was in like a Madden, that was in a Medal of Honor, I think it was Warfighter. Such a dumb decision that really, they did it for I think a year, and then when they realized just no one bought them, they instantly canceled it and were like, oh, never mind, I guess. That's something I've noticed too, because we saw recently Walmart's getting rid of all their physical games, Best Buy's getting rid of their DVDs, and they're probably going to get rid of physical games soon. A lot of retailers are starting to dump physical media.
Teleport beacon in range.
It's a really dangerous thing because if it means that the only retailer is Sony for their market, or is like Microsoft and Xbox for their market, first off, I think that kind of starts leaning into a monopoly for their games. And then the second thing is, this also comes as a problem of they can set prices. So, if GTA 6 comes out and Microsoft's like, $70, nah, this is $120 easy. They can make you pay $120, because where else are you going to get it? It's a very dangerous thing to be setting up for any company, because it's just prepping themselves for disaster. I don't know who, in terms of a company, would look at this and be like, yeah, this is a great idea, because we're totally not going to get just backhanded with like an antitrust law after pulling this. Which they rightfully should get hit with, because at that point they kind of muscle out competition. And it raises the other question. A reason that you never saw discounts on game prices online compared to a physical copy was the physical stores were mad. They were angry about it. They hated the idea that you could potentially buy a game $10 cheaper, because no one would buy them in a physical form, even though people would, because we like having physical ownership of our games. But the problem comes in the fact that what's the incentive to even carry consoles? Consoles are usually loss leaders. They're meant to get you in so that you buy games, you buy controllers, you buy all the peripherals you need. But if that's gone, then there's no incentive, and there's a problem. Let's see, can we out DPS him, or do we die? Might be able to DPS him thanks to just all the bonuses from heat damage. God, see, this is why I don't want to put any extra modifiers on at this point, because there's always some idiot who's just incredibly durable and is able to just eat every shot. And we needed to kill him.
The data slate you found has a unique encryption litanies running. You need to access a decryption terminal.
Still not a boss mission. Oh. Thought we had something more. Yeah, God, these difficulty 8 now. We only have like one level 12, but I don't look forward to that. It's gonna be real gross. Which actually... I know it's not gonna mean a whole lot, but if it mitigates some of our damage penalty, I'm all for it. I also don't modify at this point because knowing my luck, it would be the time the modifier is like, oh yeah, enemies are immune to sub 200 damage attacks, and my luck would be all I can deal is 200 damage attacks. Except for like critical hits or something, and I'd just be struggling. But yeah, my apologies, this video is really kind of scatterbrained. I didn't have much of a topic. Honestly, all I had written down was like the 10-cent thing, and as I thought about it, I was like, there's really not much to cover here. And then I was thinking more about the Suicide Squad stuff, saw the low gameplay numbers, and that made me think about this pre-order bonus situation. And then it made me think about all the other kind of stupid decisions corporate has come up with to try to leverage sales or get more money, which made me think of like the online pass and all that crap. And it makes me wonder how long these 3-day early access things are going to last. Because we keep seeing it realistically where the game's like, oh, you get 3 days early access, and it turns out the servers aren't ready. Even though they had, to a degree, pre-order information for a while, some people will buy, you know, the day that it's available early, but more people, I think, buy beforehand. And so you have this instance of they're just not prepped. Much like the Suicide Squad game, where their servers were borked and their game was bugged where people were starting the game up and getting, instantly upon starting, automatic 100% story completion. Or they would start up and it would constantly just boot to the main menu, being like, oh, we can't connect to a server. Even though it's only 3 days, I feel like those 3 days are kind of needed for like last minute testing kind of stuff where it's like, okay, employees fire up the game, here's, you know, the release copy, you have a disc or whatever, let's see if we get anything weird, and then if it turns out the servers are screwed, even if they have to take it offline for an hour like they did, or a couple hours, it's better to do it when it's just your staff and they're playing it than... Or I would say influencers, but then the problem is people will watch them and get a negative view of the game, even if it's exclusive access for testing purposes. And honestly, I wouldn't take a lot of influencers' word on stuff. But you should trust my word because I'm a very reliable source. But all seriousness, like, there are some people who will bend over backwards. We see this a lot. People who will bend over backwards for a game, even if it's terrible. You see this with, like, admittedly, I understand. You see this with, like, the Madden guys. You see this with some of the Battlefield guys who, for the past, like, 2 years, every, like, 3 weeks or something, they make a video that's like, hey, the game's not bad, guys, I promise. And it's like, yeah, but the damage is done. And even then, the game still isn't that good. And it's stuff like that where it's like you can't really trust them because of they get access to stuff. It reminds me of there's a Rainbow Six YouTuber, Bikini Bodhi or Bikini Body, depending on how you pronounce it. He was critical of how Ubisoft was handling some of their like quick match stuff. It was really poorly made. Seemed like there wasn't really much forethought put into it. And then when Siege Worlds came around, which I think is like right now or is going to soon, he didn't get invited. And it's one of those, oh, you criticized them, therefore you now get punished. When constructive criticism should never be punished. It should be rewarded. You're trying to improve things. But some people don't take it that way. And it breeds this sycophantic approach to things, which is sad. You see it all over, and it's like, I get it. You don't want people who are just, like, dunking on the game constantly. That doesn't help. But I think there's a difference between being antagonistic and saying, here are X, Y, and Z problems. Okay, what is... Oh, it's a... Yeah. I was about to say, like, who is spawning all these idiots? But it's... Nurgle Banner and Standard Bearer Man. Please. Now that he's gone, this will just thin out super quick. This is what I hate about late level Void Crusades. It's just enemy durability gets stupid. I would rather have it where it's more like tarot card penalties. Give an enemy a bunch of physical resist, give them more champions, give them a bunch of garbage like that. I will... If I have to fight 5 additional champions per pod, I'm cool.
You have obtained confidential mission coordinates.
I would rather have that put every enemy has a chance to summon a demon on death. Give me everything like that instead of, yeah, you deal 80% less damage, you take 250% more. Because that's just a kick in the nuts. I can't even haha funny joke my way out of this one. It's just like, aw, man. This is only tolerable if you have, like, so many psalm codes and you have just everything set up so you can just ball out of control. If you can't, you're stuck in a situation like this where you're just like, yep, this is my life. Hitting for 5,000 damage and watching the health just bump down a little bit at a time. God, I just noticed something. The full auto dealt like 1,000 or 1,200, I think maybe 2,000 damage per crit. But then if you landed the semi-auto, you were getting like 5,000. It just reminds me of Fallout 4, how they're like, oh yeah, if you use a full auto version of a weapon, it just magically deals like a third less damage. God, I always hated that. The fact that people had to mod that to be like, yeah, no, this isn't a thing anymore. I get it. They wanted to make semi-autos viable. But that's kind of the nature of things. That's why we evolved from bolt-action rifles to actual autos. Because the whole point is to kill faster. If they really cared that much about balance, then they should have just made ammo harder to get. Or expensive to craft, or both. God, I hope we don't have any more... I'm saying this and I'm probably going to jinx myself, but I hope we don't have any more, like... I'm trying to think, like, aspiring champions or anything. Because the last thing I need is some dude who's like, oh, I can summon mines at your feet, and they just insta-kill me, like we've seen before. I don't need that. The fact that that's an ability kind of floors me. Makes me feel like devs might have not played this game. Or... I've seen this before where devs will play the game but they'll turn on like God mode or they'll give themselves like the best gear. And it's like, see, it's doable. And I'm like, no? No, it isn't? Like, yeah, anything's easy if you have the best gear that you probably can't get at that current moment. But in a normal situation, that's not how things work. See, a case could be made for additional suppression damage. It kind of blows to be like, oh yeah, I need to put more into suppression. Because suppression is such a niche use case, realistically. Because it's just like, oh yeah, I need to hit anything tougher than a regular enemy to knock them into a stagger. Which some guys don't even stagger. That's what kills me. Some dudes are just like, yeah, I got like hyper armor, so this is now a you problem. I guess these are also kind of the times where doing like an eviscerator or melee build in general might be an option. Kind of a, hey, they're gonna close in on me anyways. I might as well be built for it. But then I have to really build for it, and I'm not built for melee in the slightest. Yeah, my single target DPS stuff will apply over, but then I have to build all the melee stuff. Like this Nurgle Dreadnought. He doesn't care. He's got that hyper armor where it's just like, yep, moving through. There's a Little weird spot right there. Can we, just... Oh my god. That is too funny. God, even the rockets aren't paying off all too well. You know you're in a bad state when that doesn't even do a lot. And look at this, 3,000 damage per attack. Or per hit. That's not good. There's nothing I can do. I'm gonna have to just pour into dots. Even though it's not going to do a ton for me. If I can get that 58 up to like 70, it's something. If it can last longer, if it can do something. Because I mean, look at this. It's 8,000 damage hits, and it's just feeling like I'm just tickling them. Absolutely brutal. But I want to get all the XP and loot out of this. Oh man, I just remembered another thing I had to laugh at. So there was the new COD season got announced. And they showed off one of the maps. I can't remember the name of it. It's an airport. And they're like, oh, it's like Terminal, but it isn't Terminal. I looked at it. It's at the Zakhaev airport. I looked at the picture. I was like, wait, that's from the MW3 campaign. It's the new version of No Russian. They just took a campaign map and went, yeah, it's multiplayer now. I mean, I can sit here and say that's lazy, and it is. But I also just laugh. They brought back, like, DOS House again. Which, admittedly, they haven't done DOS House a ton, but it really feeds into what people have been saying, where they just remake the same maps. Like, how many times have we had Terminal? How many times have we had Shoot House? Or how many times have we had Shipment? How many times have we gotten Nuketown? The only game that actually did something cool with remaking maps was Black Ops 4. Because they had, like, Jungle from Black Ops 1, but they had a flooded version. So you actually swam through part of it. That's what they should be doing. Honestly, that's what I think a lot of games should be doing, is making actual tangible environmental changes to certain maps. I think there's a lot of potential, especially if you did like a time splitter style game where you can have as much nonsense as you want. You could do crazy stuff. You could have, let's take Time Splitters 2, let's do the Streets map. You could have a version that's like a really bad snowstorm, and there's like an ice bridge across one gap that can be shot and destroyed, and there's frozen people, like Mr. Freeze hit them with the freeze ray that can be shattered so they're temporary cover. You could do one that's like hell, and there's magma in certain spots that can burn you. You can do stuff like that that's relatively easy, maybe adds an environmental hazard, and that's it. And that's a completely, I mean, not completely new experience, but a fairly new experience that provides enough of a difference that players can go, oh, okay, this doesn't feel cheap. Granted, you don't do like a full season of just environmental changes, because that will look cheap. But if you do, let's say you're doing like 3 maps every so often, if you made like one of them a kind of alt version, yeah, you could do it. I'd actually welcome it. I think it'd be fun. But with Time Splitters now, once again, dead, we're not going to see that unless someone gets the idea of making a kind of wacky boomer shooter-esque game again. Preferably I'd like to do it, but you need people. And I don't have people. Alright, let's actually look at this mission. Ugh. I am scared of these two. These two, these are gonna be horrible. Same as this one, having to find these stupid cogitators. Actually, let's look at the map. Did I screw anything up? No, that one is found through that one. This one unlocks this one. This unlocks a secret mission. Then we gotta go here. Then back here. Yeah, this is gonna go bad. I'm not looking forward to it. Not that good. Don't like health regen and cover. Not that good. And what about you? Absolutely useless. Alright, fun. So, that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.